So your goal is to make more money, or maybe you're passionate about an idea. If you're not sure how to get started, this video is for you. Let's go. What's up everyone, JR Santos Diaz here and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a startup founder and previously worked at Google and a Google-backed startup. This video is going to touch on 5 questions to ask yourself if the problem you're tackling is worthwhile. Whether this is a side hustle or maybe you're taking this full time, what we want to do is to ensure you're not making the big common mistake where you're tackling something that doesn't need to be solved. For example, Paul Graham from YCombinator once said the biggest mistake he sees with startups are they're tackling issues that frankly are something not viable. And he actually fell into this trap as well. And so what we want to do is to make sure that along your journey, you're able to ask yourself these questions to help set the foundation for what you're going to create in your rocket ship. When I first started my company, I found it actually very difficult to find resources that were helpful. Sure, I found some that were helpful, not helpful, but they were all over the place and it took a lot of time and effort to really understand which ones were gonna provide impact along this journey. My objective for this channel is to help you really set that foundation as an entrepreneur and give you the assistance you need to help you through these tough times. Frankly, I wanna make sure that you're able to walk before you can sprint. So let's look at the 5 questions starting with number 1. Is your market big enough and accessible? I know this sounds simple, but there are a lot of instances where maybe some companies address problems that they later found out years after it's not actually big enough to tackle, where there's not enough customers, that base is very small, and to generate revenue and traction of high substance, it's very challenging. And so if you're taking, for example, venture capital money, you're gonna have to be able to grow a business to be $1 billion in market cap, which means you're generating $100 million plus in revenue. And frankly, what they're trying to do as investors is, based on their initial investment, they want to 100x their investment to actually make it worthwhile to invest in your high growth company. And so that's more for the high growth companies. If you're maybe starting a small business or you have a side hustle, the issue you still have is, are there enough customers to actually make this worth your time? And so make sure you're able to answer that question, do the research, make sure you're not wasting your time. Secondly, if you look at the accessibility of these issues, you need to make sure that 1, there are no restrictions or limitations that may affect you getting to your customers. As you think about iterating on your product and your solution in the future, and if you think about actually the market you're going after, if your base is too small and there are a lot of restrictions, it makes it very challenging. For example, what I need to do is, if I have a restriction, make sure that maybe I can pivot my idea. So do your research, make sure that the market you're going after is large enough and accessible. Number 2, is your market under-addressed or unaddressed? So when you look at what you can address in this market, are you making something that's either cheaper, better, faster? And so before you think about the solution, you're gonna wanna make sure that there is an opportunity to hit one of those points, or maybe all of them. So another way to look at this is, are you building something that is going to have an opportunity to make something of higher quantity, so you're gonna get more of it, or is the quality gonna be so significant that it's gonna drastically change the space, right? And so when you think about how do you help these problems, one example that you can look at is my favorite app, Audible. So when they were addressing the market, what they wanted to do was, there was a huge opportunity and problem where discovery, the transactions of audiobooks were actually very difficult. And so they created a marketplace to bridge the gap between both the publisher and the consumer, to then make sure that they can draw that connection for both discovery and a safe place to actually transact and buy these audiobooks. So when you think about your problem, and again, thinking if it's worthwhile, you need to make sure that this market has an opportunity for you because it's either underaddressed or unaddressed. And so if it is a new space, caution, it will be challenging, but it could lead into a huge opportunity in the future to really get that high growth. So again, make sure you can answer this question. Number 3, can you make money? So if you're starting a business to consumer business, you have to make sure that people are willing to pay. If you're starting a B2B or business to business, you're gonna have to make sure that companies are willing to pay. So again, if you're looking to create this business model and idea that's addressing this huge problem, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're able to actually generate revenue. But again, if you're not doing this, maybe you're creating a nonprofit, that's still great, but we just want to make sure that if you're looking to achieve a high growth business, maybe a small business, making revenue is going to be of high importance. Maybe not even high importance, it's going to be needed, right? So going into it, if you look at other models that you can approach, maybe you've heard about free tiers before or a freemium model. So this essentially includes you going after a base where you're giving out your product for free, and then eventually you're creating friction points within your product that you're going to have customers pay for it. So companies like Slack, Jira, Trello, they've done this, and they've done a very, very good job of including you to actually address this opportunity. That said, you'll have to make sure and see what fits best for your business to actually address and make this monetization possible. Number 4, are you passionate about this idea? Generally speaking, founders have experienced these problems in the real world, and there isn't actually attention from companies tackling it, and they feel confident they can build it, and so they feel this huge need to address it, right? So that's that urgency. And so when you have this same issue, it makes it very simple to understand if this is a problem statement you want to tackle. But there isn't always going to be that organic way of thinking of tackling these formal statements. So in order to do that, you just need to make sure when you go through this process and ask these questions, are you passionate about this idea? There's going to be a lot of negative experiences, a lot of rejections along the way as an entrepreneur and as a founder. So you'll need to make sure that you are going to be your biggest advocate. So for example, if you're raising venture capital, you're probably not going to get a yes from every fund. There's a lot of different theses in terms of what they're approaching, what they're taking. In addition, if you look at another lens, customers. Every customer is not going to say yes to you. And so as much as you want to believe they will, I certainly do, but you're going to get rejections along the way. So you'll need to make sure that you are passionate about this idea. And so if you reach a point where maybe you need to pivot, maybe you need to change your business a little bit to really evolutionize the growth and the potential of where you can take this business, you're going to have to make sure that you stay passionate about the basis of what you believe to be a huge opportunity. So again, you don't want to fall victim of being stubborn and maybe going after something you think is viable. So make sure to continue to ask these questions, but as a big part, passion is going to be a huge driver for allowing you to really experience that success in this opportunity. Number 5, why now? That's the question. Why now? So there may be some changes in the world that are macro level trends. For example, COVID happened, the pandemic happened, and because of that, the way people work is very different than the world that was pre-COVID. So if I look at collaboration, ways to communicate, and ways to really get work done and build a culture, it's all done online. And so as I think about that experience, what can I do for my business to really amplify this macro level trend that offers a ton of value and urgency to address this now? Timing is everything. Think in dating, and especially in business, it is the same thing. So if you think about the reason why now, you'll have to be able to answer this question because it's very, very important. So to recap, we went through 5 questions to ask yourself before you start sprinting. Solutions are great, but problems are super important. So you'll need to make sure you really fully understand what you're trying to tackle. If you like this video, please hit subscribe and like below. Tune in next week. Thanks, guys.